A quick look at some new Wargames terrain today on Attention Span Labs. Hello and welcome to another episode of Attention Span Labs. I'm your host, author Michael A. DiBaggio. I'm also a wargamer, as you may be able to tell. So I just wanted to show you a pretty quick flyby of some terrain that I made. Some very recently, some within the past several months, but that you didn't get a chance to see because I didn't do a video on them yet. First, let's take a look at this Quonset hut. And this terrain is mainly geared toward generic wargaming. In particular, I'm playing a lot of bolt action Konflikt 47 now, so but it's also suitable for whatever games you want to play. This one is a very cool build. It's actually made out of a corrugated drain pipe, as you can tell, I think. And you can get these in large sections from Home Depot, Lowe's, places like that. But the end caps are you saw them at an appropriate length, and the end caps are 3D printed. I got these end caps on Thingiverse or some place like that, and I will place a link in the comments. But you print two for each section and make as many as you want. The base is foam board, which I landscaped. Have a Reaper Bones engine air conditioner there, some cast resin boxes, crates. Like I said, this is intended for. It has a little bit of a sci-fi touch to it. It has the keypad, sort of maybe visual scanner on the door. Also a light over the door there. Yeah, this was just this was quickly spray painted, then washed and hit with some couple two-tone dry brushes, and then flocked. This makes a great objective to capture. Also, of course, it provides cover. You could have units hiding in there. So yeah, Quonset hut, pretty cool. And also very cheap. These pieces, they were free to download, and they cost like, I don't know, both of them together probably cost 10 cents to print out on my resin printer. And this came from a much larger piece of corrugated pipe, which is like a 10-foot section, and I think that was like $10, right? Or it might have been more than that, but whatever the case is, you could make out of that 10-foot section, geez, you could probably make 50 of these things if you wanted to, depending on the size you want to make them. So that's the Quonset hut. Next up are some outdoor terrain pieces, wilderness pieces, made out of MDF bases. And with foam and sculpt mold hills, sometimes using tree bark to do rock faces. This first one is the most recent one I made. This was sort of against a more old hammer design. It's a couple sections of XPS foam, extruded polystyrene. So this is the insulation foam that you get, like the Pink Panther foam that you get, and it's actually cut in several parts. And this is one part, this is one part, this is one part, this is a separate part, and I cut it out. The whole rock face is actually carved, and it was pretty easy. I did it sort of randomly with a hot wire rod. Painted it with a dark gray, then washed it with black, then gave it a wet brush, again with that same color gray, then another lighter gray mid-tone dry brush, then a very light gray dry brush, and I thought that wasn't quite enough either, so I gave it a detailed dry brush with white to bring out the grooves and the striations on the rock faces there. And I cut it at a slope, filled it in with sculpt mold. It's a very, very simple. There's a little bit of static grass here, but mostly this is just straight flock put on, again, that old hammer style. A little bit of two-tone here, but mostly just a straight bright green. And There's a easy slope that troops can walk up here, even small vehicles take position here, machine gun nests, whatever. Snipers can take cover here. Of course, it also blocks line of sight. And from this direction, it blocks, it's impassable. Okay. Here's another smaller one. This is a sort of knobby hillock with tree cover. I thought it would be more interesting to put my trees instead of just on flat bases on some rougher ground. Again, this is an MDF base. I cut it out with power tools, cut it out of the bevel, using a jigsaw. These trees are all discount after Christmas pine trees you can get at Walmart or Michael's or wherever. Usually, the best thing to do is to go on December 26th, December 27th, and they're all marked down like 50, 75%. Buy them and then spray them with, adhesive spray and cover them in flock. These are mounted into some sculptamold texture there. And this is a model railroad deciduous tree. Most of them are. And this is a piece right here of tree bark that I pulled off. I think I pulled off a tree outside my house to use as rock facing there. See if I can get a better shot of it there. That's a nice texture to it. That is as well. Okay. Here is a slightly larger piece, 2 hillocks. Again, it's a combination of foam covered with sculptamold on an MDF base. Painted basically the same way, maybe some other different color patterns. Bored the trees into it with a pin vise, glued them there. Hot glued the other trees and some lichen, some clump foliage, flock, and static grass. You can actually see there's a nice path through the middle there. Could set up some snipers, take pot shots at. It's a good ambush point. Put this along the roads I'm going to show you later. Good marker for forest or rugged terrain, or to add to part of a much larger group of trees. These are nice and hefty, and they don't, because of the MDF base, they're not going to warp, unlike the foam board, which has a tendency to do. And now the largest piece. This is a very large piece of MDF that has a kind of weird shape because I cut it off to make a base for a cranog, which one day I will finish and then show you. But that was sort of the land bridge connecting of a cranog is you basically put some landfill and water and build structures there. Make like a little castle that doesn't float. It's actually like a little artificial island. But anyway, that was supposed to be where the land bridge is. But this is the same thing. This is XPS foam covered with, I forget whether, I might have actually used spackling on this one, or joint compound instead of sculptamold. No, this is sculptamold. Then added some tree bark for rock faces. Lots of flock, lots of trees, lots of clump foliage, lichen. These are some nice trees I bought. Let me pan up the camera here and see this giant tree here. This is a very nice tree I got from the local on discount, because otherwise they're usually pretty expensive from the local model railroad store. I got some flowers here, some wild brush. This is a pretty large piece. Blocks maneuver, especially for armored vehicles and so forth. Infantry will have to go around it. Infantry can climb up the path here. There are some sections where you can actually pose the troops on. There you go. All right. And last but not least, we've got these road sections. These are made to meld the terrain tutor specifications. So they're just, I forget how wide they are, but they're all the same width. They're cut out of foam board, but to keep them from warping, because you want to keep roads as close to the ground as possible, so they're not. Generally, roads are they may be higher than the surrounding ground in the middle, but these are dirt roads, obviously, but they're pretty well graded, reasonably maintained dirt roads. I guess they're more modern dirt roads because they have the grass in the middle, so horses aren't stopping to eat them. These are just ruts cut out by wheeled vehicles, which is ideal for my bolt action Konflikt 47 games. But they're, to keep them from warping, they're just have popsicle sticks glued on the bottom at intervals, and sometimes I cut them. Yeah, so they're foam covered in Mod Podge and spray painted. Then hit with Mod Podge and sand and spray painted, and a bit of the dry brush to make some crossroads, road forks, a couple different kinds. I have a lot of other. I made quite a few of these. I made like 35 pieces or something like that, and they can be configured in any way you like. Yeah, so they're going to fit whatever way you turn them, whatever way you want to angle them, and I've actually used them quite a bit in shot of that. Use them quite a bit in some demo games of Konflikt 47 I did at my local game store. So there's some quarter turns, some fuller turns. The key thing about these is to make them look somewhat irregular, like it's a path. In this case, it's a path that was sort of carved out naturally over time and then made into a dirt road, and then worn down around the edges over time. But if you wanted to make paved roads or really well maintained gravel roads, you'd make them obviously straighter with less vegetation around them. But yeah, these were real easy to make. Of course, they're beveled as well at the edge, so they slope down. And I just cut them out with an alpha blade. Yeah, so that's it. To look at some recent terrain. I have some more stuff I can show you, but for now, that's it, and I'll save them for a later video. So thanks for watching, guys. Let me know what you think. If you have any other helpful hints or some interesting ways to make this kind of terrain, any other cool 3D printed parts that you saw yourself and wanted to use, let me know in the comments. And yeah, as always, thanks for watching. Attention Span Lab, signing off.